Why, hello, guys. Welcome back to my channel. You're watching Art with Lita, and you guessed it, I am Lita. Today, I want to show you how I made this particular horse. Now, I saw a picture online of an Arabian stallion, and he was just so beautiful and so regal and proud that I just had to paint him. So, this is my interpretation of that particular photo, and I painted it with watercolor, with transparent watercolor, and I used the wet on wet technique all throughout this painting. So come with me, let's make something pretty. So the very first step after getting your line work onto the paper is to remove a bunch of that line work. If you're working in watercolor, you really don't want those lines to be showing through, unless of course you're doing an ink and wash or something like that. So the first thing I do is I erase a lot of that line. I get it nice and light. And then because I'm going to do this in the wet and wet technique, I start laying down what is basically nothing more than colored water at this point. I know that in the video it looks far more saturated than it actually is, but it's really just colorful water. My goal is to get rid of the white on the page and to get everything colored up, but you'll see that I'm able to recapture those whites just by going in with a clean damp brush and um, the picking out the places where I want there to be a nice white color. Look at that. Do you see how beautifully that paint is coming up? That's the nice thing about having good quality transparent watercolors is that you're able to really work with them and really get a lot of use out of them, and they can be picked up and splashed around, and you can just get some lovely results. This is a white Arabian stallion, and I wanted that to be obvious in the final painting, and because of that, I needed there to be at least some white spots on him where the sun was hitting the strongest. I'm going in and I'm getting in more and more color. Now that is not yellow ochre or anything like that that you're seeing there. That's actually a gold color, and it's not showing up too well on camera, but it is nice and sparkly, believe it or not. When I saw this photo online, he was just so regal and so proud. And I know that I usually make horses in more dynamic poses or there's some type of movement in one way or another. But this time, I just wanted to capture just how majestic he was standing there, just the pride evident in him. I did go back and forth on what color I should use for the shadows. And I decided eventually to go in with this blue color. I'm not sure the specific paint name for it, but I thought it would contrast very nicely against the pink and the gold. And I think I was right at the end. It was a good choice. Again, it looks very saturated in the video. I understand that, but at this stage, it's really not that dark and it's really not as pigmented as it looks. I want you to pay attention to that bottom hoof down there. You see how it's kind of blooming out and it'll slowly just become this mass of blue color. And I want you to pay attention to it because that is not a mistake. It is not anything I'm worried about. I am able to, by the end of the video, have that looking like a proper horse hoof. That's something that people don't realize is that even when you're dealing with watercolor that is very, very wet like this, that's spreading all around like this, you can still manipulate it, you can still pick it up, you can still use different techniques to get the end result that you're looking for. And that's something that I'm relying heavily on in this piece just because I'm working with so much water and so much wet paint. He wouldn't be an Arabian without a nice big tail, huh? One thing I love about the wet and wet watercolor technique is that everything just blends together so well and it gives a very cohesive, softer look to things. Now, the paper does start to dry out towards the end of this video and the watercolor is going down with much harsher lines and I'm able to get very sharp edges wherever I want them. But starting out with just big splashy washes. Now you have to be careful that you don't have too much pigment. You want to build that up nice and slowly, but big splashy washes all over your paper. It'll give you a beautiful, soft result with everything being cohesive because that color from the very beginning of your painting will literally be everywhere and it'll just make things look unified and look like they belong together in the little world that you're making there. You see that splotch of lavender in the very middle of the upper page there? I really did not like the way that looked. So that's not a problem. I can just go in with a clean damp brush or with a paper towel or something and just pick that right up. Here's a quick tip. Whenever you're putting strong color down, like behind the front legs there of that horse, always have that color extend to the other side of the legs. If you have one side of the legs with one color next to them and then the other side of the legs with a different color, it comes across looking awkward. So have that color extend and it'll look much more smooth and much more flowing and natural, even when you're dealing with a hot pink like that. You can see I've picked up that lavender color and I'm dropping in some more pink. I think that's much better, much prettier. Do you see that hoof now that was cauliflowering out all over the place? That paint was spreading and blooming everywhere. Now it's starting to look like a nice, sharp horse hoof. So when you see stuff like that starting to happen, don't despair. Just pick up that extra color, let it dry out a little bit, and then go around it in a negative painting, and you will see that you'll have something nice that you can work with. Now I'm going in and I'm going to get in my darkest darks. This is a slightly different blue color. I wanted it to show up better against the initial blue I used. And I'm getting his little eye in there and I'm just going through and I'm adding all the shadows so that he can have a rounder form and you can see the various shapes of his body. He really was a beautiful horse. If you like my videos, please do like and subscribe. It really helps my channel. It helps YouTube show my videos to more people. At the moment, I am quite a tiny channel, and every little bit helps. You see there how even though you have all that pink and all that gold color mixed in with the white of the page, it still comes across as white. That I don't know. Using this technique, you still get the white of the page, but at the same time, it's a colorful white. It's full of life, and it's just so beautiful rather than just having a boring old white. Anyways, that's all I've got for you today. Lita out.